Welcome back, students taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications, and we're picking up where we left off on the Chapter 20 theory videos for life, fire, and auto insurance. And just so you're oriented, those first three videos were for life. The fourth video is not dealing with fire, along with this one here dealing with the fire insurance. Okay, so let me jump down to where I picked up where I left off at. In the previous video, we discussed the calculation of the premium for fire insurance. And so in this video, we're going to discuss what happens when you cancel the fire insurance and if I can get fitted in co-insurance. Okay. All right. So there's two scenarios. You have a fire insurance policy, and there's two possible scenarios for canceling the policy. You can either you cancel it or the company cancels it, right? You cancel it as, might be because, you want to switch, from one insurance company to another, all right? Or, you no longer have the building and you don't want, the insurance policy, okay? That's one reason why, those are a couple of reasons out of many for why you would cancel it. And if that's the case, then you have what's called a short rate premium, right? And we'll go through all of this in just a second, right? But then there's also, let's say for example, you have a fire hazard and, a fire inspection, and, they say, oh, this is a hazard and this needs to be fixed. And if you don't fix it, the insurance company will cancel your fire insurance, okay? And in that case, there's a different scenario as to how, you would get your refund, all right? So let's talk about what happens when you cancel a policy. Okay, so if you cancel the policy, excuse me, there's something called a short rate premium, which is your annual premium times the short rate, which is what's on this table 20.4. And that's determined by, the time the policy is in force, right? So, the textbook is using 7 months, all right, have lapsed in the policy. And I'm just going to pick a number for my annual premium. Let's just say the annual premium is 100,000. Okay, so I'm going to multiply it by the short rate. Well, if the time policy has been in force for 7 months, I'm going to use the 67% times 67%. So that becomes my short rate of 67,000. Okay. Now, that's my short rate premium. I have to take the annual premium, which was the 100,000, and I'm going to subtract that short rate premium of 67,000, and so that means I end up with a refund of $33,000. That's what the insurance company will give me back. Okay. Think of short rate premium of, what conjures up in the back of my mind is, the short rate, meaning what's left over, right? If you notice, to give it some perspective, if you notice, like if you've only had the policy for 1 month, okay, only 19% is going to be taken away. So, if I was using 100,000 at 19%, that's 19,000. So 100,000 minus the 19,000 means you would get back $81,000. You can see the difference between the two. The longer you've used the policy, obviously, the less you're going to get back. Okay, remember this is 1 month, and this here, erase that so it doesn't look so sloppy. And this here was 7 months. Okay, so the longer it's in force, the less you're going to get back, right? And that's the way that works. Now, pause the video and copy all that down if you have to, because I'm going to erase it and talk about what happens when the insurance company cancels the policy. So go ahead and pause the video here. All right, and if you did, and now you're back, you're going to watch me erase all of this. I'm still going to use the 100,000 as an example, but when you cancel, we're looking at the short rate, okay, and we're using this table. But when the insurance company cancels, they can't use the short rate premium, okay, and the way you get your refund from the insurance company is that you take the annual premium. In our case, we're using an example of 100,000, and then you're going to subtract, right, the annual premium, which is 100,000, times the months elapsed over 12. Okay, so when I do the math here, right, so 100,000 times 7 is 700,000, and if I divide that by 12, I get, divided by 12, I get, that's equal to 58,333. I'm just going to round it here because that's 0.33333. Okay, always repeating decimal there, repeating digit. So 58,333. So it's 58,333. I'm taking the 100,000 and then I'm subtracting out the 58,333, and that gives me a refund of 41,666, all right, or 67, depending upon how you want to round it, right? So that's how much you would get back if the company cancels, okay? So now, I mean, notice that, let me jump back and redo the math real quick for if you canceled. So I had 100,000, and for 7 months, so I'm using 67 times 67%, so that gives me 67,000. Then I take the 100,000 less the 67,000, and I get back $33,000. Okay, that's when you cancel. When the company cancels, you get back 41,667 versus the 33,000. Yes, there's a difference, and the difference is that you canceled. Okay, the insurance company, I mean, this here, doing it this way is the more correct way. I mean, think about it from the perspective of, let's say, prepaid rent. Okay, let's say your rent is $1,000, okay, and you prepay it for an entire year because that's what the policy says. So you're going to multiply that by 12, and you're going to pay your prepaid rent of $12,000. Well, let's say you use it for, you've been in the business all the way through the month of May, which is 5 months, right? Well, that means you've used, since it's $1,000 a month, that means you've used $5,000, okay? And if you, for whatever reason, at the end of May, you're out of there, and the property management company has to refund the amount of your prepaid, right? They're going to take the $12,000 minus the $5,000 and give you a $7,000 check back because that was the unused portion. That's no different than what's happening down here. Okay, when the insurance company cancels your policy, all right, due to non-performance or for whatever reason, that's a more realistic way of doing it. They can't charge you extra. They have to give you back what is fair and just. However, when you look at when you cancel a policy, you're not getting back the amount, the same full amount of $41,667. You're only getting back $33,000, and then that's their VIG. That's why it's called a short rate premium. They're because you're doing the canceling, they have binders and things like that that they have to be messing with, and we're not going to get into that. So they end up charging you a vig on it, because you're the one who canceled. Okay. All right. So just be aware that depending upon which way you're looking at this, when you cancel fire insurance, you can't just say this is the amount. You have to ask the question, is it you or the insurance company? Because you're going to have two different answers depending upon which scenario it is. All right. Okay, so if you didn't understand that, rewind the video and watch it again. And if you still don't understand it, feel free to contact an instructor. And so let's just jump down here and see if I can't cover the co-insurance the same in the rest of this video. I'm getting short on time here. So I've typed out the formula or steps for this. So it says the actual amount of insurance carried on the property. Now let's say it's a $100,000 property. Okay, now remember we're talking about fire insurance and this is co-insurance. Okay, so let's say you only carry $60,000 of that, because that's the actual amount of insurance carried on the property, right? You're dividing that by the amount of insurance you should be carrying on the property to meet co-insurance, which is 80% of the replacement value. Okay, so if I have 100,000 and 80% of that, I should be carrying, not percentage, 80,000. I should be carrying $80,000, 100% times 100,000 times 80%. So I should be carrying 80,000 because that 20% is co-insurance. Okay, so I take that and I multiply it by the amount of the loss. Okay, up to the face value of the policy. So let me erase this. So if we have a loss, the amount of the loss is 20,000. Okay, that's up to the face value of the policy. We do the math here. 60,000 divided by 80,000 gives us 0.75 times the amount of the loss of 20,000, which means the insurance company would cover 15,000 of the $20,000 loss. Okay, because that is that is the co-insurance that they would have to cover. Now, if you had had the full 80,000, so let me just do the math like this, so you can see what I'm getting to here. If you had 80,000 of coverages, which is what you should have had, and you still had that $20,000 loss, well, 80 over 80 is 1 times the 20,000. That shouldn't be equal in there. 1 times the 20,000, they would have covered the full 20,000. But because you only had 60,000 of the required 80,000 in coverage, okay, you're only going to get back 15,000 instead of the full 20,000. So with co-insurance, you're going to end up paying 20% of it, and the insurance company is going to be paying 80% of it. Okay. Now remember, you're talking about the property is 100,000. All right. That's the replacement cost is 100,000. So you can think of that 20% sort of like as deductible on your car. Okay. It's basically the same exact thing, right? Or thinking the same exact thing. So let me quickly go over that again. Let's see here. So real quick, if I'm supposed to have, I have $100,000 policy, I mean, a replacement value, and 80% of it is what I need to carry. 100,000 times 80% is 80,000 is what I'm supposed to carry. That goes in the denominator. Okay, what I actually carry, that's up to me. All right. If I decide to carry 60,000, that goes in the numerator. Now, that's going to equal 0.75, right? 60,000 divided by 80,000 is 0.75. And if I have a loss, I have fire damage and the amount of that damage is 20,000, so I take the 0.75 times the 20,000, and that means the insurance company is going to reimburse me for 15,000 of the 75,000. Okay, they will reimburse me up to the face value of the policy. Okay, if the face value of the policy was the full 80,000, okay, all right, so that would equal 1. 80,000 divided by 80,000 is equal to 1 times the amount of the loss of 20,000. They would reimburse me up to the full amount of $20,000. But because I didn't have full coverage, well, what portion prorated, if you want to think of it in that perspective, how much will they cover out of the entire amount? And that's the 15,000 due to the amount that I had decided to cover instead of actually covering what was required. Okay, and that's up to the 20,000. Now, the case, if you think about this for one quick second, well, what happens if it gets burned right to the ground and I lose the full 100,000? Okay, well, if you're covering 80%, if you had the full 80,000 in coverage, you'd get $80,000, and you're still responsible for 20,000 of it. Okay, as sort of like quote unquote your deductible. All right, so that's if the entire thing was totaled. All right. Okay, so if you have any questions, watch the video again, and I'm done with the fire in this for this chapter, and then in the next video I will be discussing auto insurance. Okay, see you then.